discussed in that threw me. So yeah, and then what is said is going to be discussed in Discord over the next couple of days. So that's what I'm hearing. So
yep, next steps. How about, well, if some people still have the power to still continue, then maybe some brainstorming ideation would be a good. So the question would be, what has to be in the forum description? So the naming and how actually it will be worded, we can discuss later. But what should it include? One thing what was pointed out was a link to a safe place. What else?
Are we calling them listeners? Have we got consensus on that? Because I think we do need to know what they're called if we're going to present them. Do you know what I mean?
So far, I will stick with listener, but if somebody comes up with a better name, I'm down to it. Or maybe a Latin name, or somebody knows like a very tricky way to call it.
I kind of like listener. Is there anybody who doesn't like it or thinks it's not going to convey what it does?
Just to throw my 2 cents out there, I feel it's somehow too soft for what I feel that we need, but I might be completely wrong. I have no issue with the word moderator. I've been in several Discord channels, and you just need some people to moderate the community at times. Listener feels like someone who will just listen to you and provide some support, but not necessarily, I don't know, do much to solve the problem afterwards.
Yeah, I think that's the point, isn't it? We don't want people who are going to solve the problem for the person. It's about not taking their agency away from them, I thought. Maybe I'm really mixed up about what we're doing, because I thought moderation is a really different thing.
Well, I did think we are giving a power to the listeners to moderate too.
Yeah, because...
Okay.
Sorry, we were about to say something.
Yeah, I just said that, yes, it is a different role. But what you said, and just afterwards, like the listeners will also have moderation power. It sums it up really good. Because yeah, as Vanessa said, we don't want to take the agency away from the people who reach out to listeners, because yeah, we can't save problems. I mean, what is the problem if somebody gets bullied because they said something? Like, the problem is very complex mostly, and you can't just solve it. You can't just it won't be solved if you ban the person, the bad actor, from the server. It isn't solved if you yeah, you can't do much more than banning also.
I think I'm really confused here, because I really thought we were talking about somewhere where you could go to just kind of say what have been happening, and it wasn't necessarily about the person then jumping on their white charger and solving it. And I also thought we were looking also at people would be able to come and say, well, this has happened on Telegram, or it happened in Town Hall, or it happened anywhere. But we only have the power to moderate on Discord, surely. Or am I missing something?
No, I think that's right. We've sort of talked about two different sides of this issue and solution. So we've got the survivors that we want to support and nurture and help them not to be lost from the community because they're just afraid. Then we've also got the prevention, or the corrective behaviors that we want to apply to offenders or people who need to learn how to behave in the community. So it's moderation is a tool within that that can be used, not for the survivors, but for the offenders, as it were. But yeah, a form, an anonymous form, is another tool, or ability to find somebody just to DM is another tool. So I've been mocking up a form. Maybe I'll just share this quickly. Can you see that? Okay. So that's on the Trello board. So Tivo, you might need to use this as a basis for some of the form fields. This will probably be a bit more complex than a Google form, but are these the sorts of things that people were thinking would be on the anonymous form?
But if it's an anonymous, how do we like connect? How do we make the sense of the when and what happened? Like if they describe the situation, we will find out who is it anyway. So why would it be anonymous?
Because we want to be somebody to be able to say, I was just really hurt by stuff that's going on in Telegram. And it may not go any further than the person who was the listener in this instance. But it should be raised as something that adds to the statistics of issues that we need to address on the broader thing.
But I guess we wouldn't necessarily know, because you could report something that you saw happening to somebody else. It wouldn't necessarily mean it was about you. So we wouldn't necessarily know at that stage who it was.
Yeah. So I put on the form, you could use this form to report if you feel abused, or if you've seen an instance of abuse, or if you have a suggestion for improving our community culture. I don't know if that covers everything, but that was what I was thinking.
Well, I feel like reporting an incident and reaching out for support is something very different. Because if I get bullied on wherever, I'm not sure if I was able to just fill out a Google form and report what happened. You know, it could be something to also provide, but I'm not sure if it really should be the starting point. I would feel much more comfortable if you could drop in a Discord channel and write what's on your mind, and somebody will reach out to you. I'm much more comfortable with that thought.
Yeah, but this actually brings us back that we need that Congress form, because the listener would have to have that job to report that incident. So to accommodate the fact that what you just said, that the person who gets bullied might not want to go the extra length to do the filling up on incidents, but we would need to that like training of people.
The listener could do the bureaucracy. The person who is talking doesn't have to do the bureaucracy. As Zoe says, there needs to be a zero gap, zero barriers. I mean, for that to happen. So and it's best if the more human it is, the better. I just think a person or people who are listeners, who are available, maybe just have a simple message in Discord or wherever, as someone said, who to contact. And then the listener's responsibility is to do bureaucracy and the paperwork.
So I was thinking, because we need a single point where people are aware of that they can go to. So we don't know where in the community these people are, whether they are just on Telegram or they're just on Discord or they're just on after town or Zoom calls or something. So actually, if we've got a single web page that we can direct people to, and then it is, it shares. So here you can choose, you've got a selection of people who are listeners, and you can choose which one you would feel most comfortable with if you recognize them. you've got a profile picture and then their direct message contact details. But trying to capture everything in one place. So if you want to just anonymously report an issue, you can do it here too. But it's a single, it's the place where you can go to get stuff started at least.
Yeah, just to say, I've come across quite a few people who are on Telegram and are not on Discord. So I think it is quite important to just, not put it all on Discord. I agree with what you're saying, Jonathan.
And if it's just a website, web page, I mean, I think everyone on the internet has to be able to do that to some extent.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. It kind of brings all the things together, Jonathan, and allow also it's multi-platform, as you say. So yeah, and it could also be promoted in Telegram as well. So.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen, could I ask you an operational question really fast? Is there any collection on Gitbook that we suggest we put the video and the meeting notes on? I think we could use the Catalyst Swarm collection perhaps and create a space there.
I think the problem with the Gitbooks, Cowie, is that they're very good at documenting kind of like archival stuff, and but not so much. I think I would agree with Jonathan that a website is much more accessible. It's like the most accessible, if you like. Whereas a Gitbook, it can be, even a Gitbook, I know the wonderful Gitbooks can be a barrier to people a little bit because they can just get lost a little bit, maybe. I'm not sure, that's my view.
No, Steve, but it's for the meetings documentation.
Oh, yeah.
And not the abused people, the victims.
Oh, yeah, that can be done. And it could, I'm just trying to think where the appropriate place. Probably we could put it in the Swarm Gitbook. Yeah, sure. Because it is if people are happy with that, we can, have you got access to that, Cam? I can give you access. I can get, there you go.
I already have from the school.
Okay, good. So you're I'm more than welcome to go ahead and do that. I'll create a separate section for it, and I'll leave it
the
to
listeners.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Stephen.
I have a loose end of a question here. Who sees the incident report and who presents it anonymously? So if I create the Google form, I will see it, but I don't think I will check it every day. I will be like more of a weekly. So there would be need to add more people to do that. But then why the anonymity? Maybe it should be public.
Can you set up alerts on that kind of thing?
Can you put an alert?
You can put, well, I'm just thinking of GitHub issues, but you can put alerts on, can you put alerts on GitHub form, on Google Forms, sorry, where if someone submits a form, it then sends you an email or sends a group of people an email.
One of the things that came up in the last conversation was about feeling comfortable with the person you were contacting. So if it's a one-to-one communication, then those roles will have to have signed themselves up to it. And so it can just go directly to them in whichever medium they're most comfortable with. So if it was if they're on Discord, it'll come to them as a Discord message. Again, I'm probably talking about a custom form that's got a few more integrations than just Google.
I'm looking right now and I do not see an option to enable me to get an email. But I see it. Okay, I'm just gonna look more into some Haddock.
From a Google form, is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's possible. You can set up the receiving spreadsheet to send notifications. I've done that before. But it does rely on emails. and just goes to a single address, as far as I'm aware.
Couldn't we set up, if we made a team, I'm sorry, I'm eating. If we set up a team, couldn't we make email addresses and also then like for the people who aren't listening? If you already connected to a web page and stuff, you could also make an email.
I think it adds a bit too much overhead, because considering if I add another email, you would like, there can't be too many emails. There is that thing. And yeah, I'd rather have like an appointed person, because this way it gets less loss and more frequent. We could use like a swarm email, but then it probably might get lost in the emails too. And so yeah, I rather think we did, the best approach would be like an appointed person, and then just people have to know that there is like some kind of cap between when was the incident created and when it was brought to the discussion. So that would mean that the fastest track would be to go to any of these open channels and speak it out directly, or in the same Telegram where the issue started, or like it doesn't matter if it's Telegram, but it's that is not simple to solve.
Yeah, but Telegram is obviously a really hard problem. Why not just start somewhere and start on Discord? Or it started already, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't. I mean, maybe the fact that we create these Google Forms is perhaps we don't need it for anybody but the listeners themselves. So it's just the way to document the incident, and we don't like share that out to the community in a wide. Well, we can share it out in the community wide, but we make it specifically clear it's not the place where you get an immediate attention. In order to get the immediate attention, you contact the listener or the moderator of that place you are in, and the people who are listeners, they just provide a better safe place on the controlled platform, for example, Discord, where they can mute the person who, if somebody's following and then still pestering the.
Yeah, just keep it really simple, Tiva. Just you know, so it comes back to the listeners, the named people, and their contact details. And again, part of that role is to document, you know, when someone comes to them. Simple as that, really. I know, but it's simple, but it's about putting who are those listeners, how do we communicate them, how do we communicate their contact details? Is it, as Jonathan says, we just direct them to one web location with different contact details? No, that's one way, and we could also maybe duplicate that with people might volunteer for specific platforms, maybe like Telegram or Discord.
Okay, here's another question. So now, who sees the incident report? We open it up for everybody, but we make the report in a way that we don't bring in names, and we just report the incident, how we started, or we still need the names in order to like collect the data of like quantity of misconducts or some kind of information like that.
No, we don't need names. No.
Yeah, I agree. We don't need names.
In a sense, it's the listener who verifies the identity in this case.
Mm-hmm.
okay, which is actually like the proof of life, if you like, for the captain's coordinator. So yeah, there's no better verification of a person than another person.
Okay, so we have to really change. So are you able to provide names? We don't need anymore. Where it happened, it's still relevant. Describe the situation and issue. Are you willing to have one-to-one Zoom call to talk about the issue? Should this be still in the form? But now we don't need it because it already means that there was a connect with listener. And
first thing the listener should do is listen to what the person wants. Okay, so I hope I did this with Kirsten, but I've got some. You know, do they want a Zoom call? Do they just want to type something in a direct message? Do they, do they want to do something else? So the onus, it's about listening to what the person wants, and then acting on that actually. So then, if what the person wants is a one-to-one Zoom call or a direct message conversation, then that's the way you do it.
And I also think that when the listeners make this Google form, the Google form that the listeners then will fill out to report the incident and who reached out or what happened and stuff. I think that this form does not have to be completed now. I think this is a process, and that the people who work on that will figure out what will have to be on this form. Because when I now think about it, and I have to say I'm really motivated to do that. I still don't really know what we really can do, what we really have to put on this form. I just have a slight idea of it, and I really think it should be worked out with people who want to work on it, and who bring experience and stuff, and also can. Yeah, I think it is something that needs much more time than just making it now that it is completed. Just for the sake of having finished it by now.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think it's kind of like an impact statement that we're looking for. We're asking people to tell us how it made them feel. And I think I know we're not trying to write it now, but I would maybe think again about some of the language we've got here. Like, are you able to provide names? Are you willing to have a Zoom call? Makes it sound as if you don't, you're kind of failing the process in some way. I think it should be more like, would you like to? I think that's the kind of language we should be using.
Yeah, I totally agree. The language really is part of what needs to be worked out.
Yeah, and Ryan's got a good point. We don't want to be promising something that we can't deliver on as well. So we should make the form definitely tie up with a human in the role who's willing to do this. And again, it should probably be a funded role to actually ensure that there's someone who is responsible for being there and responding. On that, on the mock-up form I've done, can you see that? Because
yes,
yeah. So I've tried to use vocabulary like, would you like a response from me as a question? And then how would you like to be contacted? They can choose from Discord, Telegram or Zoom. And then platform you wish to see improved. That language isn't right. It's about where's the incident but yeah, I'm very happy to continue working this through and then build it out.
Okay, so we actually have now two types of forms we are talking about. You are talking about that we still have a link where people can bring their issues, but in a way they feel like fits. And what I mean by that is like where like very open way of them like explaining the situation, what they felt like could be a misconduct or could be done better, and an option to, hey, let's have a chat. And another form, what I just kind of like finished in my head was that what the listeners use to report and document the incidents.
Yeah, so the stats that we can capture and track are based on how much information is volunteered, rather than us looking to collect it or looking to grab it.
Yeah, and again, that bureaucratic exercise is the responsibility of the listener. I can't emphasize that, it's enough really. And I mean, also the announcement at Town Hall is about the listening. It's not about the process. So it's not going to be, you shouldn't say anything about the form, I'd say. It's going to be, if you're going to say something at Town Hall, my view, you should just say there's going to be these listeners who you can contact. Simple as that.
And a web URL.
People don't want to know about the stats, and of course, you might want to say yes, we're going to keep stats on that, but that's enough.
I'm not actually that sure I agree with that, because I do think people want to know what's going to happen when they contact somebody. It's like back to what I said before about you've had your agency and your sense of self taken away, so you kind of want to be put back in control of the situation. You don't want to not be sure what is going to happen with the information you've given and for it to be out of your hands. So I feel a bit unsure about that.
So do we still want two forums? So we're for two different type of people then?
Sorry.
No, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I am completely I completely agree with Stephen when he says that the bureaucratics have to be on the listener's side, and I also think that it is important to like keep track of what the work of the listener is, and this can be made by Google Forms. And the Google form that Jonathan showed is one to introduce, and there I see one problem that needs to be addressed. That is, how do you want to contact this person, on which channel you want? This is an issue that we have to find out, but I think that it is not an issue of a Google form. So I am for the I prefer the option of having this one Google form that the listeners will fill out. That is part of the reporting process. That is part of the collecting data process. And what we do with that, how we analyze it, how we present it, is something that has to be worked out also. Yeah. I am not. Yeah, I think that there needs to be a different solution than a Google form for the initial contacting.
Yeah, I actually also think like, because the Google form, what it brings us back, okay, who is going to get that data and who is going to present it, which is quite an awful job. But if you could create the culture of contact listener, and how do you find that, and embed that instead of trying to find the tool, but instead of finding the people, then I think we would be, it will make it easier for the listeners if people come to them instead of going around the I don't know, technical stuff in order to find the person. But yeah, like that's.
Oh, and I also think that the reports don't have to be very complicated. It can just be what happened, where did it happen, and yeah, like make it. You also can make it open. You don't have to analyze it and show, yeah, bullying decreased from I don't know, 20 to 5 incidents in this last week. You don't have to publish numbers, and we are not making research. We are helping people that have a problem in the community. And I don't think that the reports have to be complicated and that data analysis has to be like throwing around numbers and stuff.
If somebody was seeing an information deleted, it's written on the what questions we ask under Google form. So just to have less duplication on the board. Okay, but I mean, I'm gonna close that recording unless somebody wants to give some very specific speech.